Public Schools Board of Education special meeting of January 16th, 2018. We got the year right for the first time this month. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bonifield.
Here.
Mrs. Bradford.
Here.
Mrs. Frank.
Here.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Centers is here. President Burton.
Here. We have a quorum. We welcome you to tonight's meeting. Thank you for our patience as we started off a minute or two behind schedule. For our smaller meetings, we don't usually have this much of an audience, but we have a whole lot of folks here to celebrate with us tonight. We have three very special appointments to our district. We could not be more excited, and we are thrilled that you are all able to join us. The agendas can be found for tonight's meeting just outside the door if you have not had an opportunity to get one. If you are watching from home, you can follow along on our website. You can pick up our agenda. The website is www.livoniapublicschools.org. If you hover over the board tab, you can drop down to an agenda and follow along with this evening's activities. This is a special meeting. It's expected to be relatively brief, although we do have a few very exciting things to cover tonight. Tonight's special meeting, taking care of appointments to our district administrative team, will be also followed by a second committee of the whole meeting. We will have about a 5 or 10 minute break between the two meetings, so those of you who are in attendance can take the opportunity to congratulate our honorees this evening. The next item on our agenda this evening is item 2, audience communications. I do not have any blue slips. Would anybody present care to participate in audience communications this evening? Seeing none, we'll go on. The next item on our agenda is item 3, appointment of high school principal. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mr. Johnson.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the superintendent and appoint Andrew Pesci as high school principal at Franklin High School beginning January 17th, 2018.
Support. We have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Bonifield. And Mr. Archibald, would you like to cover this motion? For us?
Absolutely. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
What a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it is.
I'd first like to thank the members of the Franklin staff for their input in this process, as well as the administrators who were involved in the screening and applications throughout this, what amounted to 3 rounds of interviews and 4 interviews, and in which we landed on a fine individual in Mr. Pacey. Mr. Pacey has a bachelor's degree from Kansas State University. He has a master's degree from Notre Dame of Maryland University. He comes to us with 18 years' experience in education, 12 years as a teacher and a reading specialist in Hartford County, Maryland. He relocated and came to LPS in 2012, where he has been an ELA teacher at Churchill High School until he moved to Franklin, where he is in his current role, or at least his current role for another few moments, where he is the assistant principal in the business office. So again, Mr. Pacey is a tremendous educator and an even finer individual, and we look forward to what he brings in leadership to Franklin High School and the Franklin community. And I'll turn it over to Mrs. Oquist for some additional comments.
Thank you so much. So as I've shared with the Board of Education previously, we believe one of the most important responsibilities entrusted to us is hiring. And that is for each and every role within our district. Without exception, as we hire leaders for our schools, we know that we are looking for individuals who are ready to take on not only a tremendous privilege, but a tremendous responsibility. And as we made the decision to bring Mr. Willenborg here in the role of Director of Secondary Programs, we knew that left a very important vacancy in our administrative ranks. I'd like to echo Mr. Archibald's comments and thank the Franklin staff for their time with us, not only when we met, but subsequently in conversations and in emails, as they provided for us a profile of a leader to take the next steps in the journey of a proud history at a very outstanding high school, Franklin High School. We also had the opportunity to talk to students at Franklin High School and hear from them about what they valued in a principal and what they were looking for and the next leader of their school. I'm very pleased to share with you that the gentleman we're recommending this evening, Mr. Pacey, really encapsulates not only what the staff was looking for in a leader, but what the students were hoping for as well. They are looking for a champion for Franklin High School, an advocate for the students, for the staff, for the community, someone who shares the patriot pride that runs so deep, someone who is going to advocate for all learners, all programs, and truly be that voice to represent Franklin students, Franklin staff, and the Franklin community. And we know that we're bringing that forward to you in Mr. Pacey. So we are extraordinarily proud. He is a man of high character. He has a dedication to students and staff that he serves, and we believe that he is ready to step into this role with a tremendous amount of experience and fortitude behind him. So we are very pleased to make this recommendation to you this evening.
Thank you. Are there questions and comments from members of the board? Or should we jump right in? All right. We're going to go ahead and vote on the motion, and then we are going to invite Mr. Pacey forward to share his comments with the board and with the public. We have a motion by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Bonnefield. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations. Welcome officially to your new role.
Thank you, and I first want to congratulate both Bruce and Paul for their recommendations. Both Churchill and Emerson are extremely fortunate to get outstanding leaders of their caliber to potentially join their administrative teams. I also want to thank President Burton, Vice President Johnson, Secretary Centers, Trustee Bonnefield, Trustee Bradford, Trustee Frank, and Trustee Jarvis for this opportunity. I realize that I have big shoes to fill after my predecessor left such an outstanding imprint on what is the fabric of Franklin High School. Thank you, Superintendent Oquist, Assistant Superintendent Archibald, and members of Cabinet for giving me this opportunity to work more closely with the student, staff, and surrounding community. While this will not be an easy task, you have my word that I will pour my heart and soul into continuing to make Franklin a place where all students respond with such passion to becoming lifelong learners. I also need to thank Joe Anderson, Kevin Etu, and since retired Leeds member Marcia Bird. I would not be standing before you if I had not been given a chance 6 years ago to be an English language arts teacher, and then a few years later encouraged to share my curricular experience and secondary specialist background at the administrative level. What's amazing to me is that a little over 3.5 years have gone by, and I joined an amazing Franklin family and immediately recognized that the position I was put in was just the best ever because of the administrative staff that I've been able to work with. So I need to also thank John, Dennis, Ron for your ongoing support and commitment to Franklin. And of course, I need to give a special thank you to Dan, whose ceaseless determination, unyielding grit, and passion for people have served as ongoing reminders of how one person can significantly impact the culture of a school. And then also a special thank you to everyone at Franklin. During this entire process, I've been so touched by the outpour of support and encouragement from the Franklin staff, student body, and community. And to be honest, this weekend has really reminded me of how crazy it is that I am before you at this point because of the new path I took. For starters, I grew up in New York, went to college at Kansas State University, and eventually moved to Maryland to be closer to my family. However, everything changed when I met a beautiful girl from Michigan. While she moved to the East Coast to be with me, she always reminded me that when we had kids, we would move back home to Michigan to be closer to family. After living and working in Maryland for 12 years, we left our jobs to make sure our two boys, who were 4 and 2 at the time, to make sure that they have an opportunity to be with my wife's family. What makes this story even harder to believe is that my wife and her 6 siblings attended Livonia Public Schools, and all of whom graduated from Churchill High School. Teresa, your unwavering belief in me has given me the confidence as well as the reassurance that I would be able to establish myself once again in another school district.
Even though I wasn't sure how I would be able to do this after leaving my former district, I can say that almost 70 years later, yes, my amazing wife, you were right once again. Now, as I get ready to take this next step in my educational career, I truly feel blessed to not only have the full support of Franklin staff and student body and the immediate family that is obviously my sons and my mom, my dad, my sister, and my niece who recently relocated from New York to move to South Lyon, Michigan to be closer to us. Again, we have so many opportunities to spend with them as a result of that. I'm also grateful for my father-in-law and sister-in-law, my nephew, and my brother-in-law who are also in support of me in this new role tonight. I am a firm believer that all this has happened for a reason. Each one of us is presented with opportunities in life. It is up to us how we will respond to these opportunities and who will be involved. In the end, we will regret the chances we do not take. I'm extremely excited for this opportunity. Patriots always true.
I'm going to save some of my comments for after we appoint all three folks, because it's going to be largely repetitive. We're very blessed to have a wonderful, wonderful group this evening. Our next item on our agenda is item 4, appointment of high school assistant principal. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Mrs. Jarvis.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the superintendent and appoint Bruce Rivera as high school assistant principal at Churchill High School, beginning January 17, 2018.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mr. Centers. Mr. Archibald.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rivera has a bachelor's degree from Eastern Michigan University. He has a master's of science degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. Mr. Rivera has been with Livonia Public Schools for 21 years. He started at Riley Middle School, where he served as a science teacher and science department chair. He then moved on to Churchill High School, where again he is currently as a science teacher and department chair. Mr. Rivera has also been the head girls track and field coach. In this past fall, at probably a situation that was unsuspecting to him, we found ourselves in a unusual and tenuous situation, or in a situation of flux with the administration, and we were looking for someone who was well-respected and well-known within the Churchill community to bring in on, at that time, a short-term basis to help that staff move forward with some stability in its administration for some things that we were dealing with that were unanticipated. Mr. Rivera came in without hesitation and embraced that situation fully, and not only demonstrated to us through the interview process, but also through the work that he has done as the interim assistant principal in the scheduling office for the past semester, that it would be wise of us for that move not to be temporary but to be permanent. And so we're very delighted to be recommending Mr. Rivera, assistant principal at Churchill High School tonight. Ms. Oaklist?
Thank you. I'll just add a few words. It really, Bruce, Mr. Rivera was recommended to us unanimously by the administrative team at Churchill to fill a really important role at the start of the year, as you may recall, in August. And he stepped forward during a time when not only the schedules may not have been complete, but I believe that there were some floors, ceilings, and walls that were not yet complete at Churchill. He was undaunted by the tasks that were ahead of him, and he came on with the commitment and passion that he has shown over many number of years in our district, both as a teacher, as a department chair, as a coach. In all of those roles, his focus on the students entrusted to him, the respect he held, that he had from his colleagues and his administration was always present. And so we were thrilled when we not only had his name recommended to us, but when he agreed to step in to that interim role. We were pleased once again when we found his name amongst the candidates applying for this position. And so, again, we appreciate everyone's assistance through the process. Again, we went through a pretty rigorous process for each of these administrative hires, as is appropriate, but certainly Bruce came through with flying colors, and we are thrilled to be recommending to him permanently to fill the position of assistant principal at Churchill High School.
Thank you. Are there questions and comments from members of the board? All right. Seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mr. Centers. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford.
Yes.
Mrs. Frank.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
And President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations. Welcome to your role on a more permanent basis.
Yes, we
We'll
can take
remove
the interim tag off, as I've been told. Again, members of the board, thank you very much. It's been such a special honor and an opportunity to serve as the interim, to find myself actually sitting here and actually taking that tag off and being able to sort of move forward and still serve our community. My wife is behind me, and we've been teachers in this district the very same day. There's probably some history that even some of you don't know. We got hired on the exact same day in this district 21 years ago. So it's a special honor for me to serve in this new role. Very excited to go Chargers and have that Charger pride carry on. Even though I've been told we're not quite the same colors that I have on, that's okay. It was a special call that I received over the summer from Mr. E2. And one of the questions I had from Mr. E2 and during the interview process is, when did you know? When did you know that you even wanted to go this route? And I thought, the moment I hung up the phone call, anytime I can serve our community and serve the students in our building in any capacity I can, I've always been more than happy to do so. So I'm very honored, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 5, appointment of middle school assistant principal. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Bradford.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the superintendent and appoint Paul Casada as middle school assistant principal at Emerson Middle School beginning January 29th, 2018.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Bradford, supported by Mrs. Frank. Mr. Archibald.
Yes, thank you. Before I speak on Mr. Casada, I'd just like to take the opportunity publicly to thank Mr. John Letka, who stepped in at Emerson, again, under unusual circumstances this past fall, very selflessly answered that call, and will, as an interim assistant principal, will be as difficult to follow as any regular administrator. And as you know, Mr. Letka is a tremendous educator and a wonderful person, and we would just like to thank him publicly for stepping in. Our recommendation tonight is for Mr. Paul Casada. Mr. Casada has a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. He has a Master's of Science degree from Western Michigan University, and an Educational and Specialist degree from Oakland University. If I understand correctly, he was also in the marching band at the University of Michigan and served on the drum line, so he may entertain us this evening. We'll see. That may depend on how the vote goes, but we'll leave that open. Mr. Casada brings 21 years' experience from the Farmington Public Schools. He started there in his career in education as an occupational therapist, spent a considerable amount of time as an assistant technology coordinator, summer school supervisor, and currently serves as an administrative intern at Harrison High School. He has served in 2 different roles administratively over the past 2 years. He served the second semester of last year as an assistant administrator at Farmington High School, and again, the current role that he's in at Harrison High School. As Harrison, or as Farmington Public Schools realized over 21 years, we were able to realize in just a short number of weeks, and that Mr. Casada has skills as a leader and belongs in a position of leadership, and I feel that we are extremely fortunate to have landed him, and that he had confidence in us as a district to make a bold move at this point in his career, and to come over and start his administrative career with Livonia Public Schools. And I believe that we are most fortunate to have him, and that he will reiterate that for us each and every day that he is with us.
Thank you. I'll follow Mr. Archibald's comments and just briefly again also thank Mr. Letko, who when he agreed to this, we knew we agreed. Where are you, John? And he's
the one
strategically
smiling.
behind the behind the post, but we knew that he was willing to come out of the classroom, which is where his passion lies, for this first semester and serve Emerson in this way, and we are so grateful for that. And we know that he has some very fortunate students waiting in the classroom and waiting to see his name on their schedule second semester. So we honor that, we respect that, and we thank him for his service. So let's talk about Mr. Casada. I would concur with Mr. Archibald, and I believe Farmington Public Schools would as well. When I talked to their outstanding superintendent, when he picked up the phone, he said, I think I know why you're calling, and I think I'm pretty sad about it. And so we had a great conversation. We spoke with a number of people in Farmington schools. We joked the other day, Paul, that I think maybe there were 2 people we didn't speak to, but I think we spoke to a lot of folks who spoke extraordinarily highly on your behalf about Mr. Casada's commitment to students and looking for ways for them to find success at every turn. And much of his career has been focused on not only assisting students in finding success as learners, but also in the development of teachers. He oversaw all of the professional development planning and organization for a district, as large as Farmington. And when you entrust someone with a responsibility like that, you know that they not only have an understanding of what students need, but also what our staff needs. And we are very fortunate to have had him show an interest in Livonia Public Schools in an administrative position, and we are thrilled to be recommending him to you this evening.
Thank you. Are there questions and comments from members of the board? We're going to go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Mrs. Bradford, supported by Mrs. Frank. Mr. Centers, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bradford,
Yes.
Mrs. Frank,
Yes.
Mrs. Bonifield,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Centers says yes. President Burden.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations. Welcome to Livonia Public Schools.
Thank you very much. As the newbie of the group coming in, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of you, the school board, and everyone involved in the process. This is really an exciting opportunity for me. I've been working for a number of years now of trying to work my way into the administrative role to be impactful in a different way. I'm always looking for those opportunities, and so I really appreciate the chance to come here. I'm very, very excited about it. Last few years I've been working hard with my ed specialists, and I owe that to my family. My wife is here with my 3 children, my wife Michelle, and my oldest Sam, and my daughter Abby, and then my youngest Paul. So they've supported me a lot over the years to get me to this point. So it's an enormous honor. I cannot wait to get started working at Emerson and working along with Ms. Owen. I think we're going to have a lot of exciting times and exciting work to do, and I couldn't be more happy. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Other comments from board members?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on all of them.
Is Mr. Centers?
We did notice that there is a striking resemblance between Mr. Casada and Mr. Rivera. Like if someone had to pick the 2 out of a lineup, it may be tough.
It was tough for me. I had
Yeah.
nearly a whole conversation flipped backwards, so thank you for your forgiveness. I appreciate that. Just a little foot in my mouth there. On behalf of the Board of Education, I am thrilled to welcome all three of you gentlemen into the new roles, into new roles within the district, and Paul into Livonia Public Schools. You're sitting with a group of folks here who are obviously passionate about Livonia Public Schools, and we could not be more comforted knowing that you are going to be the folks who are leading our students. It's always a thrill when job postings go up and so many people apply for these positions, and many quality, really high caliber individuals. You're to be commended. You are the best of the best, and we are thrilled to have you lead our students and lead our staffs. In any way that our Board of Education can be supportive of our staffs and of our students, we try to with all the resources that we have, and they're not all the resources that we want, but all the resources that we have. And we are just delighted that you folks are going to be the ones who are stepping into some of these unique roles of leadership within our district. Welcome to a wonderful administrative team. This Board of Education backs our administrators and our staff every day of the week, and you are joining a wonderful group of leaders. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to your families for sharing you with our district and with our students, because it is a family event. It's one person has the job and has the role, but there's a whole lot of family support that's required if someone's going to succeed in these roles. So thank you for the support that you've given your spouses in order to allow them to serve our students. We could not be happier. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all three of you. This is the end of our agenda of our special meeting. If you're interested in in-depth discussion that the Board of Education has, some of you do, some of you will chuckle, and we will respect both groups. We will be beginning our committee of the whole meeting in about 10 minutes or so. We will take this break in between the two meetings, as I said, so that the folks who are present this evening can congratulate our new administrators in the district. We are now adjourned.